Hi, I am Anna Sawyer. I am co-founder of Educators First. I am a clinical social worker and I'm also a former school counselor. And what I wanted to jump on today and talk to you about was our anxiety. And what we project out into the world is where our anxiety comes from. And so if we think about it, we have our anxiety, right? And our anxiety comes from some sort of fear. Okay. And with that fear, then we begin to project our thoughts. And usually those are negative thoughts. And so those negative thoughts then go out into the world, and we in turn end up with our initial fear of happening. So if we think about that, it's anxiety equals fear equals projection. So if we think about this in terms of the school year, okay, and it is summer right now, a lot of us are either working really hard all summer, or some of us are procrastinating all summer on everything that we need to be doing. And there's some of us who aren't anxious at all and find a great balance. I, for one, I procrastinate, and others just work nonstop. So why is that? Where that anxiety that's causing them to do that or to respond that way, to procrastinate, to work nonstop, to just try to be perfect. So when we think about procrastination and why we might procrastinate, we think of back in the day, like, standing out in the crowd. It could be like being seen as like a teacher's pet. And I know this kind of sounds weird, but if we think about our anxiety and where it comes from, it came from a fear, and that fear was developed when we were younger. So that's why these thoughts, even if they seem irrational right now, that's where they come from, and that's the base of it. Another one for people who procrastinate a lot is the fear to succeed. Because in terms of trying to succeed, you may fail. So the safe thing is to just procrastinate until the very end and kind of hope it goes away. Because of that idea that if you do succeed, you may, when you're trying, you might actually fail. So if we think about that, the anxiety equals our fear equals our projection. And we think about the anxiety of, and what causes us to kind of work nonstop throughout the summer, to be somebody who is every day still checking their emails, or, really being diligent about getting everything together, and they're always kind of worried and just, whatnot. You know who you are. Anyways, so where does that come from? That usually comes from perfectionism, for those of us who really are seeking somebody's approval. The fear of doing wrong, the fear of not being noticed, right? And the fear of not being prepared, and something bad could happen. And so with any of those fears, that's our fears, right? But these fears that we have, therefore we project out into the future, right? We project an outcome. And when we're thinking about any of these fears, being perfect, wanting somebody's approval, well, when I think about that, what's my outcome? My outcome is that I didn't get the approval. It is that I still feel low about myself. And so that projection of thought is what ends up being your reality again, because that's what you're putting out into the world. Does that make sense? So what we notice ourselves having anxiety about now, if we really stop and think about it, we can figure out where that fear comes from. Okay? And with that fear and noticing that, then we can figure out, okay, like, where are my fears? Why do I procrastinate all the time? What does that then project out to? And what I then do is you need to switch what your projection is. So instead of having the worst outcome, you're going to have a good outcome. Okay? Even if I find a better balance in my work and my summer, I will still get everything done, and it'll still be great, and I'll still get the approval of my principal, of my superintendent. It's about changing those thoughts and reframing them, because when our thoughts come from fear, we're always projecting the negative. and then we start the cycle again. So if you really can't figure out, where your fear comes from, what I really want you to focus on is just, here's my anxiety. Even if I can't figure out where my fear is, the idea is trying to prevent getting there. If you don't like procrastinating, just trying to change that and trying to change the thought process that you're having for the outcome. Because what we put out there is what comes back to us. And that's really why our anxiety most of the time leads to our fears, because that's what we're putting out into the world. We're not putting our success out into the world. We're not putting a really great start to the school year out into the world. We're feeling prepared out into the world. So, anxiety equals fear equals projection equals reality. Okay. So, hey, let me know what you do. Are you a procrastinator? Are you on top of everything? Like I said, I'm definitely a procrastinator. But really think about that. When that anxiety is getting in the way, where's that fear from? Because otherwise you won't be able to change it. Okay. Anxiety equals fear equals projection equals reality. Have a great Wednesday night, everyone.